things starting to happen and come out of the ground here as you build out a world-class airport for New Zealand. And so we appreciate all the effort of you and your team as well. And can I just acknowledge some of the other tourism stakeholders and supporters that are here as well. Thank you for what you do in the sector. It's very important to us in this country, and we're very grateful for your leadership of the sector. As you know, this government is relentlessly focused on unleashing economic growth and providing all New Zealanders with the benefits that come from a thriving economy. International tourism has a key role to play in all of this. The benefits of tourism, as you know, filter into so many aspects of our society and also our economy. Last year we welcomed 3.3 million visitors to our country, but there is of course capacity for a lot more. In 2019, New Zealand had an extra 600,000 international visitors than we have last year, and we want that scale back in the sector. We want those people spending in New Zealand, in our businesses, our cities and our regions, and we want New Zealand to be a thriving cruise and air destination. We're at quite a pivotal moment where bold, decisive actions are essential to reignite our tourism industry and propel it back to the heights of 2019 and beyond. 2 months ago I was in Auckland with Louise, and we announced a $13.5 million investment to Tourism New Zealand to boost its international marketing. And this was one of the initiatives of the government's $20.4 million tourism boost package, all aimed at driving an immediate increase in the number of international visitors coming to New Zealand. Today we're here to announce the government's latest initiative to grow international tourism, and I'm delighted to announce a further $13.5 million investment to Tourism New Zealand to expand our marketing activity, particularly in our core markets of Australia, the USA and also China. We expect this latest investment to result in around $300 million increased additional visitor spending in our economy, and also to deliver 72,000 international visitors to our country. They're wonderful announcements, aren't they? It's just the chime and then they go off. It's fantastic. So I just But I'll just say, look, those 72,000 extra people coming into New Zealand, that's people sitting in our restaurants, actually staying in our accommodation, spending with our attraction companies across the tourism sector, and obviously that creates a lot more jobs for New Zealanders. Tourism, as you all know, is a very competitive market worldwide, and it is our job to make sure that New Zealand is at the very top of someone's bucket list of places they want to visit, and then to make sure we take that desire and actually convert it into an actual visit. This is the first of several investments being made as part of our tourism growth roadmap, which the Minister will talk more about in the coming days. Obviously, these investments are providing important leaps forward in the government's Going for Growth strategy, because in order to drive economic growth, we need not only to encourage visitors, but also skilled migrants to choose New Zealand as their home. And yesterday you would have also seen we announced a new Parent Boost visa, which will grant the parents of New Zealand citizens and residents multi-entry access to our country for up to 5 years, provided they meet specific health, income and insurance requirements. It's all part of letting the world know that New Zealand is open for business, and we want growth, growth, growth. And on that note, I'll hand over to Louise to talk a little bit more about the announcement. Thank you, Lou.
Thanks, Prime Minister. It's fantastic to have you here, and your presence really kind of reinforces the crucial role that tourism plays in our economic growth story. Fantastic to be here at the International Airport. Are we going for another one? Not flying Qantas today. The only problem is it makes you want to jump on a plane. Am I the only one that does it too? So since becoming the Minister for Tourism and Hospitality in late January, I've met with so many in the tourism industry, and I want to say it's just fantastic, the partnership that we've had together. So your presence here today really reinforces that we're all in this together. But the main message was, everybody is clear that there is opportunity for growth, and that our businesses want more customers, and they're really supportive of our government's agenda for growth. And so we do have some ambitious targets for doubling the value of tourism in 2034, and it's great to have the industry fully on board with that ambition. So this additional $13.5 million investment to Tourism New Zealand is on top of their annual baseline appropriation, and in addition to the previously announced Tourism Boost investment. And as the Prime Minister said, this is about targeting core markets, Australia, New Zealand and China. So these are our top 3 international visitor countries, making up 61% of all international markets. So that's why we're focused on these areas. And these markets are the driving force behind tourism being our second largest export earner, contributing 7.5% of our GDP. But of course there's still more room for growth. We need to keep the dream of travel to New Zealand alive and get people not just considering a trip but actually taking that step to book to come here. We know we've got world-class experiences and there's capacity for people to come, and of course New Zealand wants more people to visit. So as the Minister for Tourism and Hospitality, I've got 2 clear goals. The first is attracting more visitors. In the first instance, returning our numbers to 2019 numbers, and as I said, doubling the value of export from tourism by 2034. And the second is growing the number of Kiwis working in tourism and hospitality. And this new funding will help both those goals, because we do know when more international visitors come, that's more money circulating in our local businesses. This is on top of the 20.4 tourism boost announcements, and there's more to come. So this announcement today is the first announcement of the tourism growth roadmap, which I am fully announcing tomorrow. And it's about building on the numbers in the medium term, so that we can then enable Tourism New Zealand to be prepared for the longer term investment approach. And we've heard from industry leaders that the momentum that we already have is absolutely what they're excited about, so it's about us working together. And that's why Tourism New Zealand announcing this funding today is a big part of it. So we want everyone to be very clear. New Zealand is open for business. We welcome visitors from anywhere at any time, and we want them to come and book soon. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Louise. With that, happy to take your questions.
Prime Minister, it's all well to get people here and to have a nice new airport and stuff, but what do you make of the delays to the national system of integrating countries, public transport?
Oh, look, I'm sure there's opportunities for us to continue to provide more join up across the country with respect to public transport, particularly on our bus networks. But the reality is, that's not a precursor for stopping us from getting on and getting people growing and getting people to New Zealand. This is an awesome country to explore. We want people coming into Auckland and other airports across the country and then dispersing out across New Zealand. And so, I think we've got a fantastic proposition. We've had some good bounce back in some key markets. There's others that we need to push a bit harder, and that's why this money's coming in the way that it is to Australia, China and the US.
Is it disappointing though to see that delay?
Well, it's just, I wouldn't link it to tourism per se. It's really about just making sure that we can get a more joined up system across New Zealand. We want to make sure that things are simple and easy to do in this country. We don't need lots of complexity and bureaucracy, and so it's important that we keep pushing hard in that space.
Mr. Upston, can you clarify the time frame for that?
Yeah, so this funding will be for the year 25-26, so we expect some of it will see visitors next year, but flow into the 27 year as well. I've been really clear in terms of making sure that we have strong measurement so that we can see greater performance for the investments we're making. But that's why we've sensibly picked our 3 biggest markets, Australia, the States and China.
Minister,
It'll flow beyond that, so the funding and the investment is the next 12 months, but we expect the activity will generate bookings beyond that period.
Minister Upston, once people arrive here, they may wish to take domestic flights, and we've heard a lot of discussion about perceived high prices of domestic airfares. What's your position on whether a market study by the Commerce Commission or someone else is required to look at the cost of domestic flights?
Look, I think it is one of the challenges, but the reality is when we have flights into different parts of the country, we do want to encourage regional dispersal. So it is something that I'm working on with Minister Meager, who's the Associate Minister of Transport, but I haven't seen it as a barrier to visitors to date. Is there room for improvement in the future? Absolutely. But job number 1 is to get visitors choosing New Zealand, because once they land here, we do a wonderful job of looking after them, and their satisfaction with their experience is high.
And how appropriate do you think is the current level of the visa for foreign tourist visitor levy of $100? Is that prohibitive to some tourists?
No.
Do you have any plans to scrap that levy?
No, so this investment is funded out of the IVL, so it's an example of one of the things that we're doing in the short term to get the numbers back. And no, we haven't heard it being a barrier to visitors choosing New Zealand.
How exactly will you do some numbers? Can you give sort of a specific
From Tourism New Zealand, who can go into any of the details after this if you're interested in specific campaigns. But we're focusing on core markets with this investment because we know those are the numbers that we're more likely to get back in the short and medium term because we absolutely want to get back to the 2019 numbers and sooner rather than later.
And the government caught a lot of flack earlier in the year with the "everyone must go" slogan. What lessons have you learned from that campaign and sort of how would that direct the path forward?
I'd just say what a fantastic marketing campaign that was, because the fact that everybody talked about it was exactly what we wanted, and so it was a very successful campaign in getting Australians over here before they and actually getting to experience New Zealand. So I think the reality is we're proud of that campaign. Actually, it worked incredibly well, and it was well activated across by the tourism industry here in New Zealand, who all put a whole heap of offers on the table, and it certainly lifted our Australian numbers, which is exactly what we wanted.
So I guess look at maybe sparking up a bit more theory in the future campaign.
You never know. It's such a good campaign, mate, that we might want to use it everywhere. You know, everyone must go everywhere. I mean, like, it'd be fantastic. So, but we'll leave that to Renee and the marketing brains at Tourism New Zealand. Yep.
Prime Minister, why do you think China has been lagging in terms of post-COVID recovery? Tourism from there hasn't really picked up. What's going on?
I genuinely think it's an awareness issue. I think, you know, it's such a large market. We've got to maintain top of mind presence in a market like that. And the reality is, for 6 years, New Zealand went into a very inward-looking place. We were very, very late coming out of COVID. Other countries got the jump and the march on us while we were still shut down and closed. And a lot of what we're focused on is making sure we get back to China. We can actually make the case very strongly for New Zealand tourism, because we know it's a very, very popular destination. But the deal is, there's 195 countries on planet Earth, and there is also each of those potential visitors to New Zealand have lots of choices, and our job is to make sure we do have top of mind through good marketing campaigns that actually makes a visitor want to come here on their next trip, not somewhere down the road in the future. So I think genuinely in the case of China, it's about getting back into the China market, going with a good tourism delegation and making the case for New Zealand tourism again.
Do you think there's scope for more regulation of domestic tourism providers, Airbnb providers, to ensure that foreign tourists are paying a lot of money, spending a lot of time to get here, that when they do get here, they're not getting ripped off, or that they are actually able to enjoy a premium experience?
I'd just say to you, there's 8 billion people in the world. New Zealand's tourism proposition works because we target people who can afford to spend money while they are here in country. That's really important for us. We're going to restore the volumes through, but there is a huge, if you just think about India, where I was recently, there's 450 million people now that have emerged into the middle class. 250 million of them have been taken out of poverty and arrived in the middle class. They now have aspiration to go and visit places like New Zealand. And so there's just huge amounts of opportunity for us to actually target consumers that actually, when they come to New Zealand, will also spend money each and every day in the economy, which obviously creates the jobs and the growth that we're after. So I think the New Zealand tourism proposition is very, very compelling, and it's certainly to international visitors.
Are you worried about rogue operators, though? There was a story in the news a few weeks or months ago about people getting ripped off taxis, being charged an exorbitant amount, getting picked up at the airport card in the city.
I just say to you, when I'm offshore, that is not the dominant story that people are discussing in overseas markets. They are very much excited about coming to New Zealand and this magical place that they've read and heard about. Obviously, we want to make sure that we have all local providers following our rules. Where that doesn't happen, we need to understand those individual cases and deal with them case by case.
About Gaza.
Yeah, is there any other more tourism question, guys, before we change gears? All good? Okay, let's go.
So there's a situation where a ship called the Madeleine was boarded by Israel this afternoon. Is the government concerned about that, and what would you reaction?
Yeah, look, I've seen those reports. What I'm more concerned about, frankly, is the unacceptable position where aid is being impeded from getting into Gaza. And you would have seen a statement that Foreign Minister Peters signed up to with 23 other foreign ministers 2 weeks ago, calling for Israel to say, there is actually aid organisations that are sitting there ready to go, and we should have an unimpeded free flow of aid and humanitarian assistance into Gaza. What we're seeing there is utterly unacceptable, and so that's really what our wish is that we want Israel to release what is politically neutral aid organisations that are there, whether it's the UN and others, Red Cross, Red Crescent, and actually let them get into that market, let them get into Gaza and actually make sure there's a free flow of humanitarian assistance and aid. It's unacceptable what's been happening.
The Green Party is supporting the safe passage of the Madeleine. Would you go that far?
Well, again, there's been reports in newspapers, but the bigger issue, frankly, is not particularly this particular boat, a free flotilla. It's really about the fact that we want Israel to release huge quantities of humanitarian assistance, to uphold international law, to protect civilians. And we're seeing a country where up to 1 in 5 people at the moment are facing starvation. You're seeing a place where 94% of the hospitals from memory have all been destroyed, and we need a free flow of aid, and Israel needs to release that immediately.
Prime Minister, last week you called a group of climate scientists to worthies.
Sorry?
Worthies, urging New Zealand to adopt a strong methane target. They say you're trying to deflect attention from our emissions and you seem to be dismissing climate evidence.
What a load of rubbish. My point was very clear. Those scientists can write to leaders of 194 countries before they send it to me, because it's very simple. New Zealand has the most carbon efficient, most productive farmers in the world, period. We have a huge amount of science technology that's real, that's coming down the pike to help us manage our own emissions. We're making tremendous progress on agricultural emissions, and actually we can get ourselves to a place where more production in New Zealand actually helps lower greenhouse gas emissions. I'm not interested in receiving letters from lots of people, worthies as I would say. They can go write those letters and send them to other leaders of the world until the other countries of the world have as an efficient, carbon efficient farming sector as New Zealand. Then I'll take the other letter and then I might read it.
Has the government made a decision on the target?
No, not at this point, but it's coming, it's close. Yeah, but the point is very simply that we have the most carbon efficient farmers in the world. Moving agricultural production out of New Zealand and sending it to many other countries only makes global greenhouse gas emissions worse. We have fantastic science and technology coming our way. We should be able to lower our domestic emissions, meet our international commitments and increase production, frankly.
How close is that?
It'll be in a matter of months, yeah.
The abuse in state care, are you personally comfortable with the pace at which the government is moving through that?
Yeah, it took the Royal Commission of Inquiry 6 years to give us the report, as you know, less than 12 months ago. We've obviously worked incredibly hard to make sure we've got a formal national apology. We've accelerated the payments around torture around Lake Alice. We've come up with a redress system, with enhanced payments as a result of the work that we've done. And we've delivered on sort of 85 of the 207 recommendations that have been directed at the Crown. There's a lot more for us to do, but we are moving at tremendous pace, and we are moving with goodwill in order to do everything that we can. I appreciate there'll be people who, no amount of redress is going to make what those survivors went through acceptable, but we are acting in good faith and doing what we said we would do, and I think we're moving at great pace when you think it took 6 years and a previous government that actually we've been able to pick this up quickly and do the right thing, and I'm very proud of that.
Prime Minister, how important is wraparound care such as access to ongoing counselling for abuse survivors? Because I understand that some survivors up here in Auckland from faith-based institutions, they've been offered money, but the door's been closed when they've asked for what's sometimes termed wraparound care, such as access to counselling.
Yeah, well, obviously we've got a survivors experience process that actually survivors can reach out through and try and get the support that they need. But following on the Royal Commission of Inquiry, recommendations, our job is to make sure we get those implemented. That we actually make sure that we first and foremost apologise for what was under abuse that happened under state care under previous and current governments. We need to make sure that we have got a redress system that is actually dealing with that, and as I said, there'll be people who will say that there's no amount of redress is ever enough, and most importantly we're doing things to make sure that we're improving the operating practices of the government's social services agencies to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
And outside of the state sector though, faith-based care, a lot of those are private, very powerful institutions. How confident are you that
I expect the churches, as I said from day one, to be doing everything they can to support their survivors that were abused under their care. That's what we expect. Yeah, and I've written to the churches to say so.
How does it sit with you when someone dies while you're waiting for that
Oh, look, it's incredibly challenging, but we're dealing with an issue that's been built up over 50 years. We're dealing with a Royal Commission of Inquiry that took 6 years, the longest time ever in a Royal Commission of Inquiry, a very long set of reports, multiple volumes to it, 233 recommendations, of which 207 are directed at the Crown. We're moving as quickly as we possibly can, but we obviously acknowledge that there are circumstances, and that's why you've seen us move quickly on Lake Alice. We're aware that there's, we've tried to move as quickly as we can there and to give clarity on the redress system going forward.
Last one, guys.
Just lastly, going across to Canada, how good's Ryan Fox?
Isn't it amazing? What did he play, the 18th hole? Matt and I were looking at it 4 times, I think it was, and fantastic. I mean, he's had such a great patch in the last couple of months, so I'm so proud of him. Yeah, really proud of him. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, team.
Thanks.
Hey, well done.